Today, let us go to the land of Egypt to learn the most powerful philosophy of life through a short and famous poem of Ozymandias written by P B Shelley. Hi, I'm Sushma Biradar. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. First, we'll see the content of today's class. The class will start with introduction, then the background of the poem, followed by summary and analysis of the poem Ozymandias. Finally, we'll close the class with the conclusion. Ozymandias is a sonnet. It was published in 1818. It is actually a Petrarchan sonnet. As you all know, sonnet is a poem of 14 lines. It is divided in two parts. The first part is having 8 lines. The first stanza is having 8 lines. It is called as octave. And the second part is having 6 lines. It is called as sestet. In the octave, the theme is introduced. Theme or problem. Particularly the poet wants to delve. And in the last part, in the second part, the problem is resolved or it is solved. Ozymandias is the most famous and anthologized poems of P B Shelley. What does it do? It tells a story. We are very much interested in stories. It tells the story of the great king Ozymandias. Now see who is lying down here. Once upon a time, he was a great king, a very, very great, rich king. But now, he is a broken statue. So, on this, P B Shelley is satirizing, he is criticizing, vimarshe, on his pride. Pride is ego, sokko. So, by satirizing Ozymandias, Shelley is giving the philosophy of life. And he tells that the most powerful thing is time. Time is the most powerful. And nature also is very powerful. Art is also powerful, but next to power in with time. What is short-lived? Power is short-lived. Name is short-lived. Fame is short-lived. And human life also is short-lived. All these things are dealt through the story of Ozymandias. So, I hope this is clear. So, Ozymandias is a sonnet. It was written in 1818. This is one of the most famous sonnets written by P B Shelley. It tells the story of the king Ozymandias. Once upon a time, he was a very rich and great king, and now he is in the form of statue, broken statue. So Shelley is trying to criticize this ego, this pride, and he says that time is most powerful than anything else. Okay, Shelley was born on 1792 and he died in 1822. So he just lived only for 29 years. An English romantic poet. His most famous poems are Ode to the West Wind, Ozymandias, and To the Skylark. This is the text of the poem. What you're seeing in the slide, there are 8 lines and it is called as octave. I met a traveller from an antique land who said, two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert, near them on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command Tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. These are 6 lines. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. I, here it means the poet. The poet meets a traveler. He is coming from Egypt. Antique land, here it means Egypt. Antique means ancient. Here it means Egypt. Who said? He says. The traveler says to the poet, he saw 2 vast legs. Vast means large. Trunkless legs. Trunkless means it's having no body. Only 2 legs are standing without a body. Stand in the desert near them, near by the legs, on the sand, half sunk a shattered visage lies. Visage is face. Legs are there, face is there. So nearby them, face is there. The face is so realistic. It looks lifelike. One can see frown on the face. Frown is anger. Like how the king was alive. We feel that we are seeing a lifelike image. I mean, the expressions are so real. Frown is anger, kopa. Wrinkled lip. Lip is tutti. They're wrinkled. They're so real, it looks. And sneer of cold command. And in the smile, one can see that the king was a very arrogant king. A very strict kind of a king. So the face is so clearly sculpted. So the speaker says, tell that its sculptor is Shilpi. Well, those passions read. Passions are his emotions, feelings. He understood very well. The sculptor has understood the feelings of the king very well, which yet survive, stamped on this lifeless things. Lifeless things is the stone face. All the emotions are still there on that stone face. The hand that mocked them, mocked is to imitate. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕೈಯಿಂದ ಕೆತ್ತಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ ಇಮಿಟೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ, ಕಾಪಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. How the king looked in the real life, in the same way he has copied it. And the heart that fed. Heart is, he could understand the king through and through. ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಮನಸಾರೆ ಚಿತ್ರವನ್ನು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಆ ಚಿತ್ರ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅವ್ನು ಬದುಕಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತಾನೆ ಕಾಣಿಸುತ್ತೆ. Okay. Now these are the 6 lines. So we are introduced to Ozymandias. We are introduced to the traveler who comes from Egypt, and he says that there are 2 legs and 1 face. The statue is not having a body. And on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias. So on the statue, ಕಾಲ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ the words are written. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. I'm a great king. I'm king of all kings. Look on my works, he says. He is telling to the kings, you see my works, mighty and despair. However big king you are, you'll be ashamed of by seeing my achievements. So these are the words inscribed on the statue. So the traveler says, nothing beside remains around the decay. Decay is broken statue of that colossal wreck. Colossal is large, doddudu. Boundless and bare. Boundless andre wherever you see, you're seeing only sand, sand and sand. The lone and level sand stretch far away. So wherever your eyes go, there is only sand. So this is the text of the poem. Now next, talking about the historical background. Now let us understand who was this Ozymandias. Ozymandias was the ancient Egyptian king. He was a pharaoh. In Egypt, he was called as Ramses II, but Greeks called him as Ozymandias. Now, this Ozymandias is a very interesting kind of a king. He was well known for building programs. He built so many things. So many things. He built many temples and many statues of his own. That too, larger than life statues, larger than life temples, means very, very big temples. He was regarded as most powerful, the greatest and most celebrated king. So he was a very powerful king. You just imagine, at the age of 10, he was made the chief of army. This Ozymandias. And half of his reign or his rule, he just fought with people. He waged war and he expanded his kingdom. So he was one of the most powerful, rich and great king. He ruled Egypt in 13th century BC. That is before Christ. A very successful king. He built many monuments of God and himself. So he gave himself God-like status. He was very, very proud of his achievements. So I hope this is clear. So Ozymandias, he is the ancient Egyptian king. He was called as Ramses II and Greeks called him Ozymandias. So he was a very successful ruler, and his rule was the second longest rule. He ruled 66 years and 2 months. He ruled for 66 years and 2 months. He died at the age of 91 years. Okay, so such a a powerful king was Ozymandias. Now, I hope the historical background is clear now. Now, summary and analysis. Now, this is the analysis of first 4 lines. The story is quite simple. What you're seeing in the picture here is the Egypt pyramids picture. The poet met a traveler from an ancient antique land or Egypt. So Shelley is referring to Egypt as antique land. So he comes from Egypt. The traveler describes that he saw 2 vast lakes. He tells about his experience that he saw 2 vast lakes, 2 large lakes. Okay, so this is clear. The poet meets a traveler who comes from Egypt and he says that he saw 2 vast lakes without body. So there is no body to support it, only 2 legs. And a broken face half buried in sand. Sand is ಮರಳು. 2 ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕಾಲಿದೆ, ಒಂದು ಮುಖ ಇದೆ, ಆ ಮುಖ ಮರಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅರ್ಧ ಮುಳುಗೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. The legs were very large, very big legs, but the statue's visage or face had life-like expressions. ಆ ಭಾವನೆಗಳು, that emotions are so well sculpted. It looked like a real, one seeing a real person. There was frown is anger, wrinkled lip, ಸುಕ್ಕು ಬಂದಿರೋ ತುಟಿಗಳು. It was clear that he was a very commanding king and a very cruel king. ಅದು ತುಂಬ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. The sculptor understood the king and his emotions. So he is a sculptor. Very neat work he has done. He recreated the king's feelings. So that's very important. So he's a very good sculptor. He recreated the king's feelings. Emotions are realistic and detailed emotions are there. Very detailed. He has taken a lot of time to sculpt a very realistic statue of Ozymandias. The king's feelings were well sculpted on the lifeless stone. So, stone became alive by the hard work of the sculptor. Okay, so these are the 8 lines. In 8 lines, the traveler is telling to the poet that he went to Egypt and he saw 2 vast legs without body, body is missing, the face is lying down in the sand. And the face is so beautifully sculpted that the emotions are so real. One can see that the king was very commanding, very cruel kind of a person. The traveler describes the words on the pedestal. So it's inscription on the pedestal. My name is Ozymandias, king of kings. He's trying to introduce himself in that way. Like how we introduce ourselves. I introduced myself. I am Sushma Biradar, I told. So in that way, he's introducing himself. Look on my works, a mighty and despair. This is how he wants the people to know him. Okay, now what do you mean by this? My name is Ozymandias. This is the paraphrase. This is the meaning of the lines. The king who rules over the other kings. King of kings means I am the king who's ruling all the other kings. King of kings another biblical phrase. From Bible they have taken the words. You think of yourself as powerful. He is telling to the other kings, you think that you are very powerful. You feel hopeless at my magnificence and accomplishments. When you see what I have achieved in life, ನಾನು ಏನೇನು ಸಾಧಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನೋ ನನ್ನ ಸಾಧನೆಯನ್ನು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡಿರೋದು ಏನೂ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ದುಃಖ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ರಾಜರ ರಾಜ ಅಂತ ತನ್ನನ್ನು ತಾನು ಅಹಂಕಾರದಿಂದ ಅವನು ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. Okay, but now what is there? There is nothing in the place except sand and large ruined statue. There is nothing. ಏನು ಇಲ್ವೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಬರೀ ಮರಳು ಮರಳು ಮರಳು. The remains of once the great king. So now nothing is there. Just only sand is there in the place and large ruined statue. That's all. So hope this is clear. Now conclusion. The poet is P B Shelley. Form of the poem is Petrarchan sonnet. The rhyme scheme used here is iambic pentameter. It's a loose iambic pentameter, not strictly followed rhyme scheme. Metaphor. Metaphor means comparison. He is comparing. Large ruined statue in the desert. He is comparing that with the powerlessness of human beings. ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಯೂವನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮನುಷ್ಯರು ಎಷ್ಟು ಪವರ್ಲೆಸ್ಸು ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾನೆ, ಶಕ್ತಿಹೀನರು. ನಾವು ಇರುವಾಗ ಎಲ್ಲವೂ ನಂದೆ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಸತ್ತ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನೂ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಬೈ ಶೋಯಿಂಗ್ ದಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಯೂ ಹಿ ಈಸ್ ಟ್ರೈಂಗ್ ಟು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಟು ದ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್. ಐರನಿ. The present state of the statue. Now see why Ozymandias built it? Because he want to be Amara, immortalize himself. But ಈಗೇನಾಗಿದೆ? There are only legs and a face. And wherever you see, there is only sand. So here we meet 4 people. One is the traveler who comes from Egypt. And next is the poet. Then the third person is the sculptor, Shilpi, Akettironu. Next, the king Ozymandias himself. So this is his story. Now themes of the poem. Short life of power. Power ಅನ್ನೋದು ತುಂಬ ಶಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. Let that be political power or whatever kind of power. Power is short lived. ಇವತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ. Human life. ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಜೀವನನೂ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. Ozymandias, he himself lived for 90 years. But the truth is, he died. And after dying, no one remembers him. The name is short lived, and fame also is short lived. What is powerful? Time is powerful. Then, art also is powerful. Now, see, at least through that statue, the remains of the statue, we came to know who was Ozymandias. So, art is powerful. Now, one more example. P B Shelley, as I've already told you, that he died at the age of 29. But still we remember P B Shelley by reading his poems. Okay, so I hope the class was beneficial for you. If you have any doubts, you please leave in the comment box. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel for more academic videos. Thank you very much.